Chapter 61. Business Snatcher. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Even though Lin Feng was grinding his teeth in hate, but at any rate he at least had mental preparation. Wang Lin and Sun Xiaozhu on the other hand were completely dumbfounded. Black smoke constantly rose up from the stone bead, forming a human figure in the air who released a grating laughter in a hoarse voice. Lin Feng closely looked over, seeing that the human figure had the appearance of an old man. His demeanor was arrogant and overbearing. A puny Chi disciple stage ant dares to covet my treasure. What a joke. The old man's laughter was very bold, but Lin Feng sensed a heavy aura of malice and savagery between his brows. This old geezer is definitely ruthless and diabolical, he isn't a good guy. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He didn't rush to make a move and instead prepared to patiently observe for a while to get to know his opponent. But Sun Xiaozhu did not have such control, he cursed saying. What stray ghost are you, you dare to act so impudent? While speaking he brought his palms together and formed a spell sign. With the surging of his mana, a beam of golden light flew out from his waist and struck towards the old man. The old man laughed coldly. He pointed his finger and a stream of black mist gushed out, blocking the golden light. Watch me break your evil magic. The spell sign in Sun Xiaozhu's hands changed consecutively. When the golden light was about to come in contact with the black mist, it suddenly exploded open, turning into a flurry of golden light and landing in the black mist like a storm. For a moment golden light flashed, piercing the black mist full of holes. At the side, Lin Feng watched Sun Xiaozhu who was beaming with joy, he couldn't help but sneer in his heart. Who do you think you're facing? Sure enough, floating in mid-air, that old man's expression did not change at the slightest. The black mist suddenly started to spiral, as if a massive vortex. The golden raindrops were very quickly swallowed by the vortex, unable to make another splash. Sun Xiaozhu's expression changed greatly, his face turned deathly pale. After holding it in for a while he was still unable to hold it back, a mouthful of blood spraying out. At this time how could he not know the old man's power? He pointed at Wang Lin and hissed. Traitor, you dare to collaborate with this heretic to plot against your own master. We the Mount Heng school cannot tolerate a traitor like you. Today I expel you from the school. Target has resolved the original master-disciple relationship, host can now take the target as disciple. Hearing the system notification in his mind, Lin Feng stared a bit blankly at Sun Xiaozhu. Holy shit, it's that simple. Wang Lin is just a registered disciple of the Mount Heng school, placed under Sun Xiaozhu's door. As long as Sun Xiaozhu this master resolves the master-disciple relation then he does not need the permission of the Mount Heng school. If not that Lin Feng was still able to maintain his reason, he wished that he could instantly hug Sun Xiaozhu and kiss him. This guy is family. Sun Xiaozhu still doesn't know exactly what meaning his actions just now possess. Right now there was only one thought in his head. There's no way for me to pocket it anymore, I can only escape back and find the seniors of the school to subdue this demon. Wang Lin, you traitor. When I report to the two Aurus Core stage ancestors they will definitely take out the trash. They will kill you and this demon, exterminating evil and protecting justice. After pointing his finger at Wang Lin and cursing him, Sun Xiaozhu ran away without even turning his head. Seeing Sun Xiaozhu flee, that old man bared his teeth and smiled. He revealed a thick aura of bloodlust and brutality saying. In my heyday, don't mention two Aurus Core stages, even two nascent soul stages would just be chop. Sui. But today I Zhuge Nan have fallen into hardship, I cannot allow you to go back and inform them. While speaking the old man pointed his finger. The black mist turned into a rope, rapidly flying towards Sun Xiaozhu. In the air it turned into the shape of a lasso, directly roping over Sun Xiaozhu's neck. Sun Xiaozhu had the living daylights scared out of him. He hurriedly retracted his domineering behavior and cried out. I was wrong, please forgive me once. Zhuge Nan laughed in mockery saying. It's too late to think of begging now. Finishing speaking, the black mist lasso directly tightened. Sun Xiaozhu did not feel suffocated, but all of his mana had been bound. The next instant Sun Xiaozhu screamed, his eyes were empty and he stood dumbly on the spot like a puppet. It turns out that his soul was directly taken away by Zhuge Nana, his body had already become an empty shell. Lin Feng's pupils slightly shrank. He thought. Being able instantly take away the soul of a Qi disciple level 8 cultivator and he didn't even have the chance to fight back, this old geezer isn't easy to handle. The black mist lasso released itself from Sun Xiaozhu's neck and returned into Zhuge Nan's body. The old geezer's face was filled with an expression of enjoyment. He exhaled a long breath towards the sky. Delicious, I haven't tasted this in a long time. Devouring the souls of people, Zhuge Nan's technique was very clearly dark magic. Don't mention Lin Feng, even Wang Lin could tell that his origin is not upright. Zhuge Nan slanted his eyes. Seeing Wang Lin have a faint look of horror in his vigilance, the old geezer snorted in disdain. What are you looking at? We cultivators act against the heavens in the first place, whoever upsets you, you kill them. In the few days you've been in this bullshit school, how much humiliation have you suffered? If it was me, this school would probably have already been slaughtered by me. All who insult me, I will crush their souls. Wang Lin laughed helplessly. Don't interrupt me, I haven't finished speaking yet, This little school of yours has a couple of girls who look pretty decent, you really don't know how to enjoy life. If it was me I'd already have captured them and used them as cultivation vessels, sucking their yin essence dry. I really miss that experience, I haven't tasted that feeling in over 30 years. TL. If you don't have any clue whatsoever of what he's talking about, you're probably not old enough to know. Wang Lin was already stunned speechless. Zhuge Nan rambled on endlessly for half a day before finally stopping. He looked sideways at Wang Lin and snorted. Stupid brat, what's the feeling like of getting bullied in your school and one guy taking on the whole lot of you? Wang Lin thought about it for a moment. He's only been in the school for only a couple of days and suffered a lot of ridicule and contempt. In terms of his feeling of belonging towards the Mount Heng school, it really isn't that strong. But during the exchange competition, when that Qi disciple, Great Circle of Perfection disciple of the Eternal Tao sect, stood on the stage and announced that he would challenge all of the Qi disciple stage disciples of the Mount Heng school, amongst the crowd Wang Lin also felt his anger surge. He was enraged. Unfortunately he doesn't even have a level of Qi disciple level 1. He could only helplessly watch him point his finger at everyone's noses and provoke them. Seeing Wang Lin's face reveal an expression of fury, Zhuge Nan smiled leisurely. How's the feeling of having your school's base snatched by someone, getting driven out and running away like a homeless dog? Wang Lin pursed his lips. What do you want to say? Zhuge Nan smiled saying. Do you want to become stronger? Do you want to possess unrivaled strength? Do you want to slap a person back to their grandma's home when they provoke you? Wang Lin's eyes lit up. On the other hand, hiding at the side, Lin Feng's eyes blazed with fire. Fucking shit, this old bastard is not only stealing my business, he's also stealing my lines. Zhuge Nan laughed loudly. It's nothing but a trivial matter. Follow under my teaching and in 10 years you'll be able to climb the path towards the heavens and the road of success. At that time you will know that the nascent soul stage cultivator who snatched you guys' base today is nothing but a glass vase. But the path of cultivation is filled with thorns, it is absolutely not a smooth road. You must face all kinds of pain and suffering, can you bear it? Wang Lin's face revealed a resolute expression. On the other hand, the expression on Lin Feng's face was aggressive. His mana surged and he was prepared to fight. Fuck. Get the fuck out of my way, this disciple is mine. Chapter 62. The script isn't right. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wang Lin's face revealed a resolute expression. He bit his teeth and said, I can endure any kind of suffering. Lin Feng stared coldly at Sikong Na. Right at the instant when he was about to attack, he suddenly noticed that after Wang Lin agreed, a hint of imperceptible smugness and exultation flashed by in his eyes. Lin Feng was slightly stunned. A thought flashed by in his mind. This old geezer isn't like me who has a system and knows that Wang Lin possesses amazing potential. The current Wang Lin just looks like a piece of trash with extremely poor aptitude. Why is he so happy about taking in Wang Lin? In a split second Lin Feng forced back the impulse to attack. There's something wrong with this old geezer. With this pause, the smugness and exultation in Sikong Nan's eyes had already disappeared. He glanced at the gathering place of the Mount Heng school people in the distance. This is not the place to speak. I'll take you to a secret place and then we'll talk. While speaking, black mist swirled around Sikong Nan's entire body, enveloping Wang Lin and flying towards the distance. Lin Feng quietly controlled the black cloud flag and secretly followed behind. Let's see what the hell you want, you old bastard. With a son of the heavens like Wang Lin, who is basically like the main character of a Xuanhuan novel, carrying an old grandpa around with him is practically the standard. But Lin Feng has this persistent feeling that there's something wrong with Sikong Nan, this old grandpa. The black mist carried Wang Lin and flew for over 50 kilometers before landing in a valley. Wang Lin landed on the ground dizzy. In front of him the black mist reformed Sikong Nan's figure. Lin Feng followed behind them and arrived at the valley, but he saw Sikong Nan wave his hand, sending out a cluster of black mist that enveloped the interior of the valley. People on the outside could neither see inside or hear the sounds within. This black mist is all the manifestation of that old geezer's mana. If regular means are used to sneak in, no matter how stealthy a person is, they will still be discovered by that old geezer. Lin Feng grinned. Too bad it's not a problem for me. Lightly shaking the black cloud flag, black light flickered and Lin Feng entered into the interior of the barrier that Sikong Nan set up. The black cloud flag moves by directly breaking open the void. Lin Feng teleported from the space outside of the barrier to the space inside the barrier. He didn't even touch the black mist and naturally won't be discovered by Sikong Nan. After Lin Feng silently snuck in, he saw that inside of the barrier formed by black mist, Sikong Nan and Wang Lin were standing face to face. Nobody should bother us here, Sikong Nan said to himself. He then turned his head towards Wang Lin and said with a serious face. Practicing my Dao technique requires the aid of this netherworld bead in your hands. Lin Feng's gaze fell upon the stone bead in Wang Lin's palm. Wang Lin himself also lowered his head looking at the stone bead. Sikong Nan continued saying. Your bone root is rather poor and your foundation is also weak. If you want to increase your strength as fast as possible, then there is only one way. That is, I use the empowerment technique to help you advance in leaps and bounds. Wang Lin asked in puzzlement. Empowerment. Sikong Nan nodded his head saying. In a bit, use all of your effort to communicate with the netherworld bead in your hand with your mind. It's best if you can arouse the netherworld bead's power to nourish your body, at the same time release your mind to me and open up your consciousness. I will empower you and help you increase your level. Only by working from both sides and combining the power of both sides can you be reborn. Wang Lin blinked his eyes. He was silent for a long time before suddenly opening his mouth and asking. Elder, why are you helping me? When the words left his mouth, Sikong Nan and Lin Feng were both stunned. This kid, it's one thing when he doesn't open his mouth, but when he does he asks the right questions. Sikong Nana was dazed for a moment before releasing a cold snort. I get angry just looking at that pathetic appearance of yours. I decided to take pity on you and give you a helping hand, and you're striking an attitude. Wang Lin's eyes flashed, he said in a heavy voice. Thank you for your kindness, but there's no need to trouble you. Please send me back to join my school elders. Sikong Nan narrowed his eyes. Ungrateful brat, do you know what you're saying? Wang Lin pursed his lips and said modestly. I am slow-witted and my level is lowly, I am afraid that I will be unable to repay your kindness. I cannot receive a reward without merit, I do not dare to accept such a huge favor. Sikong Nan started to cackle. But this isn't up to you. Wang Lin's expression changed slightly, he heard Sikong Nan continue to say. Originally I wanted to save some time, but since you don't know how to appreciate kindness, I can only spend some effort and let you witness my ability. While speaking, Sikong Nan's two hands formed a spell sign. Rolling black mist instantly spewed out, completely covering Wang Lin. At the side, Lin Feng watched with his jaw dropping. This script isn't right, the main character is going at it with his old grandpa. Being covered by the black mist, stars floated in front of Wang Lin's eyes and his head was drowsy, he only wanted to fall asleep right now. Instinct told Wang Lin that if he just sleeps over like that, he'll never wake up again. At this moment a light bulb lit up in Wang Lin's head and a thought suddenly flashed by in his mind. This old geezer's cultivation level is far more than Chi disciple stage. He's too much higher than me, killing me is like killing a mosquito. Even though he appeared from the netherworld bead, he doesn't seem to be able to control the netherworld bead. Right now the netherworld bead is the only thing I can depend on. If there is something that can protect me, it is definitely only this netherworld bead. Thinking here, Wang Lin forced himself to pull himself together and placed all of his spirit into the netherworld bead. At critical times, man's potential will explode. Wang Lin really did successfully communicate with the netherworld bead. The originally dusky and completely unassuming netherworld bead emitted a pale yellow glow that isolated Sikong Nan's black mist. Seeing this, Sikong Nan stormed with anger, but he couldn't do anything about it. He could only constantly strengthen his mana and hope that the black mist can breach the yellow light. Right now the old geezer's balls hurt like crazy. In the past Sikong Nan contended against people for this netherworld bead. With his physical body destroyed and his soul heavily wounded, he could only attach himself within the netherworld bead. Over dozens of years later, not only was he unable to refine this treasure, he instead had a trend of being refined by the netherworld bead and was gradually trapped within the netherworld bead, unable to come out. When Wang Lin obtained the netherworld bead, his body was wounded and his blood dripped onto the netherworld bead. He actually inadvertently used his blood to refine this treasure, but at the moment Wang Lin's level is too low and he is unable to control the netherworld bead. Sikong Nan's plan was to take over Wang Lin. Not only would he regain a new body, he could also use this opportunity to refine the netherworld bead, this treasure. Who knew that Wang Lin would become suspicious and not give him a chance? But Sikong Nan also cannot kill Wang Lin. If Wang Lin dies, Sikong Nan will have to continue being trapped within the netherworld bead. So his plan right now is to use his spell to subdue Wang Lin and have him obediently hand over his body. Too bad in this moment of life and death, Wang Lin actually successfully controlled the netherworld bead to resist against him. Sikong Nan was in an awkward situation, he could only continue competing with Wang Lin to see who gives in first. Right now Lin Feng understood everything. This isn't an old grandpa, this is clearly an old devil who wants to take over Wang Lin's body. Understanding this point, Lin Feng completely made up his mind. Looks like the first bucket of gold in Wang Lin, this main character's life, is the treasure, the netherworld bead, and not some old grandpa. This Sikong Nan is a freaking villain. Not only will he not fight with Lin Feng for the position of old grandpa, he will instead become the villain's stepping stone to complement Lin Feng. Of course, the precondition of everything is that he can't allow this old geezer to really take over Wang Lin's body. Lin Feng laughed coldly while looking at Sikong Nan. Old bastard, bullying my disciple. You really don't know how the word dead is written. Chapter 63. Get away from my disciple. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Even though there was the glow of the netherworld bead blocking, Wang Lin, who was surrounded by black mist, felt colder and colder. It was not his body that felt cold, but his soul that shivered and chilled. As if gusts of ill wind that blew from the depths of his heart, no matter how warm the outside is, it cannot block it. He doesn't know that this is the sign of excessive wear on his mind. If he continues like this, he will damage his spirit. Even though the netherworld bead can restrain Sikong Nan to a certain degree, Wang Lin's own cultivation level is honestly too low. His spirit is simply unable to control the netherworld bead and cannot bear the exhaustion brought by the netherworld bead. Beside his ears is the cackling of Sikong Nan. His vision started to go black and Wang Lin felt like his mind was about to collapse. A lot of irrelevant content also started to surface in his mind. The first thing that Wang Lin thought of is his parents. Father, mother, am I about to die? Taiju is unfilial, I cannot go back to see you guys anymore. TL. I'm not really sure about this Taiju name for Wang Lin. As far as I know, there is a Xiao Ni phone game where there is a character called Wang Taiju who can evolve into Wang Lin. I'm assuming it's his given name in this novel. What's unbelievable is that the second thing that Wang Lin thought of is a white-robed young Daoist with wide sleeves in Daoist clothing. If I went with that Daoist at the time, would I not have today's disaster? Wang Lin's mind was a mess. The moment before he was about to lose consciousness, a voice suddenly traveled into his ears. Old bastard, fuck off and get the hell away from my disciple. Wang Lin used all of his strength to open his eyes. Light flickered before his eyes and the last scene that entered into his eyes is a beam of white light that ripped apart the heavy black mist as it flashed. That white-robed young Daoist whom he saw before stood in front of him and was looking at him with a face of concern. Wang Lin's lips moved, he wanted to say something but was ultimately unable to release a sound. His head crooked and he fainted over. Seeing that Wang Lin had only fainted over due to mental exhaustion, Lin Feng relaxed his heart and turned around facing Sikong Nan. Sikong Nan stared coldly at him. Youngster, you dare to ruin my plans. I will pull out your soul to make a soul lantern and have you suffer the pain of having devil fire erode your soul all day and night. Lin Feng swung his sleeves and protected Wang Lin behind him. He said calmly. Scram right now and I can allow you to live. Sikong Nan's eyebrows instantly raised up, he said while cackling. You court death. While the black mist surged wildly, it flew up into the air and gathered together, virtually forming a physical body. Afterwards it started to rapidly spin, pressing down heavily like a drill towards Lin Feng who was below it. The spell sign in Lin Feng's hands changed, his mana automatically converted to the pure Buddhist mana of the Kittagarbha Sutra. A layer of faint golden Buddhist light had also appeared over his body. Lin Feng has yet to fully cultivate the Kittagarbha gilded body, so he does not dare to be careless. His two hands formed a Buddhist hand sign and he used the Buddhist mana of the Kittagarbha Sutra to drive it, releasing the minor samsara technique. Releasing the minor samsara technique, golden light gathered above Lin Feng's head, forming a massive character pattern. TL. If you don't know, that is not the Nazi swastika. The black drill rapidly spun downwards. With a single spin, the golden character above Lin Feng's head had already directed the black drill to the side, landing far away in the cliff at the side. The cliff that had experienced the erosion of the rain and wind for thousands of years and still remained firm was directly smashed to bits by the black drill. On the surface Lin Feng's expression did not change, but alarm bells had sounded in his heart. At present this old geezer only possesses a crippled soul, his strength is also equivalent to peak foundation establishment. If he recovers his peak state, how terrifying will he be? Regardless of the Kittagarbha Sutra or the minor samsara technique, they are both secret techniques with infinite profundity of the Buddhist sect. Only with the combination of the two did Lin Feng withstand the first round of attack by Sikong Nan. Moreover, it was a good thing that he used the minor samsara technique and used the method of leveraging force to deflect the black drill. Or else if he took it head-on, with his incomplete Kitagarbha gilded body it would most likely not end well. Lin Feng's pupils shrank. Since I've made this enemy today, I absolutely cannot leave behind any future trouble. Raise not your hand when showing mercy, show no mercy when raising your hand. Thinking here, he raised up his arms. 24 golden dots of light flew out in all directions, scattering on the ground. Sikong Nan stared at Lin Feng and snorted coldly. A baldy of the Buddhist sect. What I hate the most is monks. I'll have you witness my 100-demon night parade technique. Sikong Nan's spell sign changed in succession, the black mist emitted became increasingly thicker and gradually enveloped even the entire valley. Shrill screams sounded in the black mist, dozens of crimson-red dots of light suddenly lit up in the black mist, appearing very glaring. The next instant, Lin Feng saw a dozen black shadows stumble out from the thick mist. They were a dozen pitch-black wraiths with hideous faces. It turns out that those crimson-red dots of light that lit up before were their eyes. Sikong Nan's cackling rose up in the black mist. Too bad, back in the day when I used the 1,000-demon parade and 10,000-demon parade, what grandeur that was. Now I have fallen into hardship and only a dozen of worthless wraiths remain in my hand, but dealing with you is more than enough. Little bastard, when I kill you I'll turn you into a member of them and have you be at my command for eternity. Lin Feng closely looked over and saw that one of the weaker wraiths among them, even though his body was pitch-black and his face was twisted, but from his facial features he could still vaguely recognize that he is precisely that Sun Xiaozhu who was just killed by Sikong Nan. From the aura around this wraith, he has entirely retained Sun Xiaozhu's cultivation level of Qi Disciple level 8 from when he was alive. Amongst this group of wraiths, Sun Xiaozhu's strength could be considered the weakest. The other wraiths at the worst possess mana of Qi Disciple Great Circle of Perfection. There are 6 wraiths that should have been Foundation Establishment stage cultivators when they were alive and in the end had their souls pulled out by Sikong Nan for this technique. In front of him the group of wraiths hissed and howled. Lin Feng turned a blind eye to them, his gaze looking towards the depths of the black mist. He laughed saying, "You really are teaching your grandmother how to suck eggs." Sikong Nan was stunned. "What did you say?" Lin Feng smiled, smiling radiantly and dazzling. He lifted his hand and lightly snapped. Pa! With a crisp sound, dazzling Buddhist light burst into the sky. Waves of golden light flushed the black mist clear. Buddhist chanting filled with benevolence could be heard without end. The ill wind and ghostly wails vanished in a flash. The scent of sandalwood flooded the nostrils, causing people to enter a state of tranquility. Lin Feng bathed in the Buddhist light, closing his eyes and listening to the Buddhist chanting. His hand lightly tapped to the beat and he was very comfortable. But those dozen wraiths had it bad. They were completely surrounded by golden Buddhist light, their entire bodies were as if they were being burned by fire. They could only curl up into a ball and struggle in resistance. Lin Feng opened his eyes and smiled. "You just said, they're more than enough to deal with who?" With this smile he revealed his snow-white teeth that were even slightly glimmering. But landing Sikong Nan's eyes it made him shudder. Sikong Nan has always thought that he was already vicious enough, but looking at Lin Feng right now who had a smiling face, he felt like he was facing a super prehistoric monster. Lin Feng laughed, his right hand gently waving forward. "Then, let's start." 24 golden arhats chanted a Buddhist prayer together that shook the ears. They rushed in great strides toward Sikong Nan and those dozen wraiths. When they moved the earth rumbled and mountains shook. Chapter 64. I said I'll crush you so I'll crush you. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Lin Feng activated the 24 Heaven Arhat formation, the battle instantly fell into a one-sided fight. 24 golden arhats who all possess a Foundation Establishment stage mana standard. They surrounded the dozen wraiths and beat the crap out of them. Regardless of single combat ability or group combat ability, these wraiths aren't a match for the golden arhats to begin with. Moreover, right now they are being restrained by the Buddhist light and can only exert 80% of their skill. The result of the battle is naturally without question. Sikong Nan watched the wraiths that he refined get killed one by one and cried out in distress. "Kid, this isn't over until one of us dies." Sikong Nan's expression was savage. His two hands gathered in front of his chest and formed a spell sign. The black mist constantly gathered, gradually condensing into a black sphere of light. The few remaining wraiths all released piercing screams. The red light in their eyes surged and shot towards the black sphere of light in front of Sikong Nan's chest. Red light constantly mixed into the black sphere of light and it became increasingly darker and heavier. And following the constant shooting of red light, those couple of wraiths all started to become dispirited, as if they had their strength sapped from them. Lin Feng thought. He seems to be using a secret technique, sacrificing these wraiths to complete a certain secret art. Thinking here, Lin Feng waved his hands. The 24 golden arhats brought their hands together and the golden light above their heads connected together, forming a golden cloud of light. Lin Feng didn't have any thoughts of waiting for his opponent to charge up his big move and then having a showdown with his strongest move after he's charged it up. Attack the army while they are in the middle of crossing the river, this is the correct path. In the golden cloud of light, Buddhist chanting boomed. A beam of golden light flew out from the light cloud and turned into a massive golden will, smashing down towards Sikong Nan's head. A thick, blood-red pillar of light shot out from the black sphere of light with a bang. Black light circulated around the pillar of light, its momentum was frightening. The golden wheel and the blood-red light pillar crashed together. They did not emit any sounds, but powerful invisible shockwaves constantly spread out in all directions with the point of contact as the center. Even the golden light mist in the Buddhist light formation was blown away by the continuous shockwaves. Invisible waves swept over the entire valley. Ancient towering trees in the mountain toppled over and countless plants were lifted up from their roots. Sand and stone flew in a flurry and cracks appeared even on the solid stone walls. The blood-red light pillar was not destroyed by the golden wheel and the golden wheel was also unharmed. Two powerful forces refused to budge in the air and had actually entered into a deadlock. Seeing this, Sikong Nan felt great hatred in his heart. Cunning kid, if he waited for me to completely finish this technique I would definitely be able to destroy his Buddhist magic in one hit. Damn it, being so heavily wounded, not only has my cultivation level dropped greatly, even a lot of powerful abilities cannot be used. Or else even if I only have foundation establishment stage cultivation level right now, killing a little bastard like you would be like killing a dog. Sikong Nan roared in his heart. If you land in my hands I will definitely boil your soul like lamp oil. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent, he nodded his head leisurely. Not bad. His calm appearance made Sikong Nan even more blue in his heart. But, you're still far from enough. Lin Feng's hand made a seal and formed a spell sign. The 24 Arhat light figures instantly responded, chanting a Buddhist prayer again in a low voice. Buddha is merciful. The golden will instantly surged with light, forcefully pushing forward and pressuring the blood-red pillar of light to constantly retract backwards. The wheel's speed of advance was not fast. It moved steadily and without haste, but it was filled with an unstoppable, unrivaled prospect of strength. I said I'll crush you, so I'll crush you. Sikong Nan's expression changed greatly, this time he couldn't even speak. He could only struggle to persevere and resist, but in front of the golden wheel's overpowering momentum, he appeared to be so powerless, like a candle in the wind that could extinguish at any moment. But Lin Feng did not stop there, he was unforgiving. Only a dead opponent is a good opponent. Letting the 24 Sariras support the spell formation on their own, Lin Feng's own mana had already converted from the Buddhist mana to the Thunder class mana of the Nine Heavens Thunder technique. Lightning, the most unyielding, most positive energy in the world. It is the most domineering and swift, and is precisely the nemesis of all ghosts, specially countering spiritual and evil magic. Lin Feng's palms came together, right away the thunder essence around his body rapidly gathered, forming a massive lightning blade over 10 meters long in the air. Violent bluish-purple lightning shone directly on Sikong Nan's face, making his face purple in color. At this moment Sikong Nan felt like the light in the sky had suddenly dimmed. The sun did not disappear, it was that his vision was completely filled by the light emitted from another bluish-purple sun. The skill derived from the Nine Heavens Thunder technique, Wild Lightning Blade. Lin Feng revealed his teeth smiling. Old bastard, die. In Sikong Nan's terrified eyes, the violent massive lightning blade arced across dozens of meters of space, chopping down towards his head while bringing up sizzling sounds that constantly crackled beside the ears. No, right now all of Sikong Nan's mana was used in competing with the Golden Wheel. Where does he have the extra strength to block Lin Feng's attack? In the sound of his wailing, Sikong Nan's spirit that was floating in mid-air was directly cut in half by Lin Feng. His lower body was directly blown to bits by the lightning. Countless electric sparks coiled around every inch of skin on his upper body, constantly exploding and appearing very miserable. This kid is savage, I can't fight recklessly against him anymore or else I'll definitely lose my life here today. Sikong Nan glared venomously at Lin Feng. His remaining spirit turned into a cloud of black mist and returned back into the netherworld bead. Lin Feng slightly knit his forehead and took back the 24 Heaven Arhat formation. He darted forward and picked up the netherworld bead. He can sense that within the netherworld bead, Sikong Nan's heavily injured spirit was actually rapidly recovering. Kid, no matter how arrogant you are, as long as I hide in this netherworld bead you can't kill me. Sikong Nan's venomous laughter traveled out from the netherworld bead. Sooner or later I'll settle the score with you, let's see who can laugh until the end. Lin Feng's eyes lightly swept the netherworld bead. His finger drew a seal in the air and enchanted it onto the netherworld bead. Without question the one who will laugh to the end is definitely me. As for you, hee. Inside of the netherworld bead, Sikong Nan's laughter abruptly stopped, as if someone had suddenly grabbed his neck. Only after a long pause did his enraged voice travel out. What did you do? How can you cut off the connection between me and the netherworld bead? This is the Void Temple's Heaven Cage Sigil. How can you know the Void Temple's secret technique? Don't you practice Buddhist Tao techniques? Knowing Tao techniques of the Buddhist Holy Land and also knowing the skill of the Taoist Holy Land, who exactly are you? Lin Feng did not pay attention to Sikong Nan who had already fallen into madness. He put away the netherworld bead and used the black cloud flag to wrap up himself and Wang Lin who was still unconscious on the ground, leaving the valley. Lin Feng attempted to use his mana to stimulate and wake up Wang Lin, but there was no reaction. He wrinkled his brows and closely examined him, discovering that Wang Lin's soul was actually also trapped in the netherworld bead. I have to fish out his soul as soon as possible. He doesn't have any cultivation prowess, if his soul leaves his body for too long he won't be able to return to his body. Lin Feng controlled the black cloud flag and flew. The Heaven Cage Sigil also can only temporarily seal the old geezer. Leaving him alive is ultimately trouble, I'll find a place and completely deal with all the problems. Chapter 65. Master isn't home. The first bullet. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At the time when the people of the Mount Heng school were flying, they flew over 500 kilometers away from Mount Heng before stopping. Afterward Sikong Nan also brought along Wang Lin and flew for a long distance. After discerning the direction, Lin Feng controlled the black cloud flag and returned back in the direction of Mount Heng with Wang Lin and the netherworld bead. Lin Feng's 3 disciples were still waiting for him in the small town at the foot of Mount Heng. But before meeting up with his disciples, Lin Feng has to first find a quiet place and deal with Wang Lin and Sikong Nan. He found a quiet valley less than 50 kilometers east of Mount Heng, opening up the black cloud flag and sealing the entire space of the valley. He then crushed a voice transmitting crystal. A faint white light rose up from the crystal fragments. Xiao Yan's voice traveled out from the white light. Master, what's the matter? Lin Feng said. Lately Master has been meditating on the way of the universe and my Dao technique level has improved again, but I need to enter closed-door training for a period of time. I can't say exactly how long. During this period of time you guys take care of yourselves, stay in the town and wait patiently for Master to return. Pausing for a moment, Lin Feng still continued to say. My location of closed-door training is a small valley 50 kilometers east of Mountheim. If you guys truly encounter a problem that you guys cannot solve, then you guys can come here to find Master. Xiao Yan smiled saying. Don't worry Master, we will wait patiently for you to come back. Lin Feng said, okay. The white light on the crystal dissipated and the communication ended there. Properly setting down Wan Lin's body, Lin Feng sat cross-legged, the netherworld bead lay flat in his palm. He ultimately only has a Qi disciple stage cultivation level. The heaven cage sigil that he laid before was already about to be destroyed by Sikong Nan. Lin Feng connected his spirit with the netherworld bead, his mind seemed to enter a dim, yellow space. In the space, visible ripples constantly flowed, as if he was beneath water. Looking around was a stretch of pale yellow. In the depths of the space, Sikong Nan was imprisoned in a cage formed by rays of light. Black mist coiled around his body, constantly ramming the bars of the light cage. The light cage set up by the heaven cage sigil was already crumbling, the old geezer could break out at any moment. Seeing Lin Feng, Sikong Nan cackled. You think that it's all good if you use the heaven cage sigil to trap me? It's the exact opposite. This heaven cage sigil has instead let me see through the depths of your cultivation level. You're just a little Qi disciple stage brat. When I destroy this sigil, your soul will go well with my drink. Lin Feng laughed without care. Before that I'll chop you into a salad first. Golden Buddhist light instantly illuminated the dim space. Looking at the massive human figures in the Buddhist light, Sikong Nan's face was pale. What is this magic item of yours? Its mana can actually seep into the netherworld bead. These are sariras. You refined Buddhist sariras into magic items. In the boundless Buddhist light, Lin Feng sat quietly cross-legged. His two hands formed a Buddhist hand sign and he smiled saying. Old bastard, today I will use this Buddhist light formation to send you back into the cycle of reincarnation. Xiao Budian stared eagerly at Xiao Yan. Eldest apprentice, brother, is Master not coming back? Xiao Yan nodded his head. Master has to break through his boundary and advance his cultivation prowess, so he decided at the last minute to enter closed-door training for a period of time. The length of time of the closed-door training is uncertain. His position is a small valley 50 kilometers east of here. Closed-door training, this kind of thing stresses being undisturbed, so my opinion is that we just stay here and wait for Master. Xiao Budian lowered his head. Xiao Yan and Zhu Yi exchanged gazes. Zhu Yi said. Youngest apprentice, brother, if you really do miss Master then we'll head over to the valley right now. We won't disturb him, we'll just guard around the valley. Not even finishing his sentence, he saw Xiao Budian lift up his head in surprise. I didn't say I want to go find Master. Zhu Yi said puzzled. But your head was lowered and you looked to be in low spirits. Xiao Budian smirked. I was thinking of where to go play later. Master is finally not around, even if I cause a bit of trouble there won't be anybody to nag at me anymore. Xiao Yan and Zhu Yi, these two apprentice-brothers, were both simultaneously speechless. They looked at each other and both shook their heads laughing helplessly. They were defeated by this little imp. Xiao Budian smiled saying. Apprentice-brothers, let's go out for a walk. Sitting here and aimlessly waiting is honestly too boring. Zhu Yi slightly knit his brows while Xiao Yan was quite moved. He himself also possesses an unrestrained personality, he's never been a scrupulous and well-behaved person. Seeing Zhu Yi appear to slightly disapprove, Xiao Yan smiled saying. Junior apprentice, brother, let's go together. Don't you also regularly say that it's better to walk 10,000 miles than to read 10,000 books? What is walking 10,000 miles? It is experiencing more things, witnessing a myriad of people and situations, it's not just busily traveling. Zhu Yi thought. The ancient scholars all traveled across the states, spreading knowledge and educating the people while also increasing their knowledge and honing their knowledge and reason. Sitting quietly and reading is self-cultivation, observing the many states of the world is also self-cultivation. There are principles within the heaven and earth and also principles within commoners. They are all principles, I should have an understanding of them all. He has long read poetry and literature and his personality is also rational and calm. Compared to people of the same age he can bear the loneliness more, but he is after all a teenager. He also has a side of curiosity and livelihood. The three youngsters left without delay, leaving the town together and walking towards Chuzhou City that was 50 kilometers away. Chuzhou City is an important city at the southern border of the Great Qin dynasty. It is densely populated and commercially developed. Inside of the city it is very lively. After wandering around for a bit, Xiao Yan and company arrived at the city square in the city. The outer ring of the city square is all regular stuff like food and clothing for normal humans, but walking into the central area of the city square, it is the world of all sorts of cultivation materials. The Qin dynasty's southern border is next to demon territory. At the same time as being chaotic and dangerous, there are also all kinds of precious treasures. Chuzhou is the biggest trading center of the southern border of the Qin dynasty for all sorts of precious treasures. Walking in the city square, the three people looked around left and right. For the most part they were just strolling around, they can't afford to buy what catches their eye and they don't care for anything too cheap. This thing. Xiao Yan suddenly stopped his steps, staring at an item placed in a shop. It is massive in size and is pitch black, its length is virtually the same as his height. Zhu Yi and Xiao Budian noticed his peculiarity and also stopped their footsteps. Xiao Budian smiled saying. What do you have your eyes on, eldest apprentice, brother? You're so preoccupied, let me see too. With one look he couldn't help but be speechless. Zhu Yi's curiosity was also piqued by their reactions and he also walked over. After seeing the item he was the same as Xiao Budian, he was also a bit speechless. The item that attracted Xiao Yan's attention is an incredibly big black greatsword. Instead of saying it is a great sword, it would be better to say that is a giant, thick metal ruler with no blade. The black greatsword also didn't have a tip, at the end of the sword it was as if it had been cut off at the middle by something, revealing a cross-section as smooth as a mirror. Lines of slightly faint, strange markings were drawn on the surface of the pitch-black greatsword. The markings reached the sword hilt and virtually covered every part of the blade. Matched with the archaic pitch-black color, it looked relatively mysterious. Zhu Yi said with a stutter. Eldest apprentice, brother, you have your eyes on this thing. Xiao Yan had a puzzled expression. I get this feeling that this item seems to have some sort of connection with me. Borrowing a line that master regularly says, could this item and me be fated? Xiao Budian's expression was strange. He held it in for a while but was unable to hold back, bursting out with laughter. Zhu Yi also flashed a smile. Xiao Yan was a bit embarrassed. Two little pricks, what are you laughing at? I won't laugh, I won't laugh. Xiao Budian hurriedly shook his hand, but the smile on his face just couldn't stop. Xiao Yan slapped his little head a bit vexed, Xiao Budian hurriedly covered his head. Don't slap me, I'm always getting slapped by master, I'm already about to go dumb. Eldest apprentice, brother, if you keep slapping me then I'll really become dumb. Xiao Yan scolded jokingly. Just die from dumbness. Zhu Yi smiled at the side saying. Since eldest apprentice, brother likes it then just buy it. Xiao Yan thought about it for a moment and then slowly nodded his head. The three people all didn't notice that on the street outside of the store, a gray-clothed person wearing a large straw hat on his head suddenly opened his drooping eyelids. A strong light surged in his eyes and he twisted his head staring at the shop that Xiao Yan and company are in. This mana fluctuation, it's the mana fluctuation of the Buddhist thunder staff. Buddha have mercy, I've finally found a clue. Chapter 66. Master isn't home. Trouble comes knocking. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the wide dirt road, a black-clothed youth was difficulty walking while covered in sweat. The youth's every step was like a heavy object falling on the ground, heavily smashing the ground and kicking up a wave of dust. Looking close up, one can see that on the back of the black-clothed youth he is actually carrying an incredibly massive black greatsword. The greatsword doesn't have a blade nor a tip and its length has virtually surpassed the youth's height. This strange combination made the many passerbyers in the city square all unable to help but cast gazes of curiosity at him. Beside the black-clothed youth, a green-robed youthful scholar walked side by side with him. A child only 4 or 5 years old walked energetically in front, occasionally turning his head and looking at the black-clothed youth. The expression on the faces of the green-robed scholar and the child were both strange, wanting to smile but not daring to do so. The black-clothed youth glared at them grumpily, dragging his leaden feet and walking under a tree beside the road. Walking to under the tree, the black-clothed youth directly fell to his back and lay on the cooling grass, letting the sweat on his forehead flow down like a small stream. His two companions stood beside him, lowering their heads and looking at him. The smile on their faces was nearly about to burst. The black-clothed youth is naturally Xiao Yan. Looking at that smiling appearance of theirs, he let out a snort. If you want to laugh then laugh, careful that you suffocate to death. Xiao Budian exploded with a crisp laughter. Zhu Yi's face also revealed a grin. Eldest apprentice, brother, of all the things you could have been fated with you just had to be fated with such a bulky thing, now you're suffering big, huh? Xiao Yan scratched his head in distress. I didn't think before either that not mentioning that this thing itself is crazy heavy, it can also suppress the circulation of my mana. This thing really wants to tire me to death. Just thinking about carrying this thing back to Mount Heng is terrifying. Xiao Budian took pleasure in his misfortune. Eldest apprentice, brother, exactly what sins did you commit last life? Xiao Yan glared at him. On the road back to Mount Heng, you and me take turns carrying it. Your cultivation pills were also used in buying this thing. If you don't carry it and we can't bring this thing back then I won't give back the pills that I owe you. Xiao Budian was instantly heated. Your shameless apprentice, brother. Xiao Yan smiled saying. I'm sticking to you, what can you do? You. Xiao Budian just wanted to speak when his expression slightly changed and he twisted his head looking behind him. Xiao Yan and Zhu Yi were also alarmed, raising their eyes and looking behind Xiao Budian. They saw a gray-clothed person wearing a big straw hat on his head, silently standing not far away from them. The gray-clothed person took off the straw hat, revealing a shiny bald head. 6 precept scars were neatly aligned on his head. Why is Huiku's Buddhist thunder staff with you guys? Where is Huiku and where are the Sariras? The gray-clothed person slowly asked. His voice was not loud but it was as if it sounded from the depths of their hearts. The expressions of Xiao Yan and his apprentice brothers all slightly changed. The gray-clothed person only calmly stood there and he already gave them a lot of pressure. They didn't even dare to recklessly move a pinky finger. The three people all exchanged gazes, thoughts rapidly turning in their minds. This monk's cultivation level is unfathomable. Master is not with us, if we fight recklessly it's easy for us to be in an unfavorable situation. Xiao Budian's big black eyes turned and he opened his mouth first saying. It was a monk who gave it to our master and then master passed it on to us. The gray-clothed monk glanced at Xiao Budian, a hint of amazement revealed in his eyes. Clearly he's perceived that Xiao Budian is not even 5 years old yet and already has a cultivation level of Qi disciple level 10. Which expert is your master? Subconsciously, the gray-clothed monk's tone of voice became a bit more courteous. Being able to train such an outrageous disciple like Xiao Budian, his master is definitely not a regular person. Xiao Budian shook his head. Master doesn't let us say. Xiao Yan looked at the gray-clothed monk and asked modestly. How may we help you? The gray-clothed monk looked at him. The Buddhist thunder staff is on your body, right? That is the magic item of our Buddhist sect. After being silent for a moment, Xiao Yan said. The magic item was bestowed by my master. Without my master's approval I do not dare to easily gift it to another. The gray-clothed monk's drooping eyelids instantly opened, a strong light surged and he stared straight at Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan's mind was shaken and he nearly fainted over. Under the gaze of the gray-clothed monk's eyes, Xiao Yan even had a feeling of guilt as if he'd committed great evil. But his will is incredibly strong and he managed to stabilize his mind, staring back at the gray-clothed monk unyielding. Zhu Yi was silent the whole time. At this moment he quietly took a step forward, standing side by side with Xiao Yan and facing the pressure brought by the gray-clothed monk. Xiao Budian's little face also scowled. He stood together with his 2 apprentice brothers and the 3 apprentice brothers all faced the powerful enemy together, side by side. The gray-clothed monk's eyes flashed and his eyelids drooped back down. The pressure instantly vanished and Xiao Yan and Co. unanimously exhaled a sigh of relief. Only at this time did they discover that their backs were already covered in sweat. The monk who gave the Buddhist thunder staff to you guys, do you guys know where he is right now? The gray-clothed thought for a moment and then opened his mouth asking. Xiao Budian said first. We don't know, it's already been almost half year since we saw him. Half year ago. The gray-clothed monk pressed on. Where did you guys meet him? Xiao Budian answered without hesitation. Near the great Zhou dynasty's capital city, Tianjing. If you want to find him, there's no harm in taking a trip to Tianjing. The gray-clothed monk stared at the 3 people for a long while and then nodded his head, putting his palms together and saying. Namo Amitabha, thank you children. Before his voice had died away, he had already vanished on the spot. Xiao Yan was slightly dazed. This monk is more bark than bite, he just left like that. Xiao Budian said snappily. What, do you really want him to attack and cook us all in one pot? Zhu Yi pondered and said. This monk could very likely come back, let's go back and meet with master as soon as possible. Xiao Yan and Xiao Budian nodded their heads together and the 3 apprentice brothers hurriedly walked towards outside of the city. The air slightly fluctuated and the gray-clothed monk revealed himself, staring at their distancing figures. I've let out the line, hopefully I can catch a big fish. The gray-clothed monk let out a low sigh and followed behind the 3 people. When Xiao Yan and company were passing through the city gate, they coincided with a group of people entering the city who brushed past the 3 people. An old man amongst the group suddenly wrinkled his forehead and drew near to the leading youth. Young Master Tian, this old servant just saw a small child. Young Master Tian asked. What about the small child? The old man responded saying. In the past this old servant once met that Shi Xiling, the child just now looks very much like Shi Xiling. Yu Tian's eyes flashed. Did you see wrong? Shi Xiling is precisely Shi Tian Hao, aka Xiao Budian's father. The old man nodded his head. Young Master Tian, you know that this old servant's pair of eyes is the most accurate in remembering people. That child looks at least 70% like Shi Xiling, if that child was still alive he should also be around this big. Yu Tian lowered his head and thought for a moment. He gave the order saying. Go, find 2 people to follow and observe them. Report back after they find where they're staying. In a small valley 50 kilometers east of Mount Hang. In the Netherworld bead, Lin Feng was controlling the 24 Heaven Arhat formation and using immeasurable Buddhist light to forcefully refine Sikong Nan. The old geezer roared again and again, constantly resisting. He may not have been able to take control of the Netherworld bead, but after staying within it for a long period of time, he can also borrow a bit of the Netherworld bead's power. For the moment, Lin Feng really can't do much with him. While controlling the 24 Heaven Arhat formation, Lin Feng was also searching through the system. Ghost King Cannon. 100 Demon Night Parade Technique. Found it, it's here. Chapter 67. True Netherworld Water. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Ghost King Cannon. 100 Demon Night Parade Technique. Got it, I found it, it's here. Lin Feng felt rejuvenated and carefully read the descriptions. Ghost King Cannon, a secret spell of the Thousand Ghost sect of the past, siphoning the spirits of countless wraiths and releasing them after compressing them using an arcane technique. Its attack power is very powerful and it was one of the killing moves of the Thousand Ghost sect. 100 Ghost Night Parade, a secret spell of the Thousand Ghost sect of the past. After killing the target, the user can imprison the soul and use an arcane technique to refine it into a wraith, hiding within the user's mana. When needed, it can be released to attack enemies. The wraith completely maintains its cultivation level during life, and the number of wraiths that can be controlled is closely related to the user's cultivation level. Lin Feng's eyes turned. Thousand Ghost Sect. I think it was a dark sect that was once very prosperous. Afterwards it was wiped out by the Mdishu Sword sect. The Heaven Primal World's power structure is relatively stable. Besides 30 years ago, where the Great Zhou dynasty teamed up together with many forces and destroyed the Buddhist sect, there is basically little change. Before the elimination of Buddhism, the 3 great holy lands basically represented the strongest power in this world. Even with the matter of the elimination of Buddhism, the shadows of the Void Temple and the Mdishu Sword sect could be seen, or else the Great Thunder Monastery couldn't have fallen. Ever since the 3 great holy lands were in power, in the thousands of years of time, the days of the dark sects have not been well. They're basically rats that everyone hates. Even if a couple of big shots have appeared before, they were prominent for a time, but they ultimately couldn't avoid the end of being suppressed and exterminated. The Thousand Ghost sect is a classical example. In its heyday, its name far surpassed regular sects, almost nearing the 3 great holy lands. It was the holy land of the ghost cultivators of the world and was the leader of the dark sections. But after the peak is decline. Due to this or that reasons, after the couple of core dark cultivators in the sect died, they ultimately couldn't avoid the fate of destruction. They were challenged by a sword cultivator of the Mdishu Sword sect who wiped them out by himself, becoming one of the legendary stories in this sword cultivator's wild life. Lin Feng glanced at Sikong Nan and suddenly opened his mouth, asking, "You are a member of the Thousand Ghost sect?" Sikong Nan was slightly stunned and then burst out with loud laughter. Surprise, surprise, there is actually still someone who remembers the Thousand Ghost sect. That's right, I am precisely the last elder of the Thousand Ghost sect, Sikong Nan. He laughed proudly. You kid, from where did you hear the name of the Thousand Ghost sect? Lin Feng said slowly. I heard a friend mention it. Sikong Nan laughed, saying, I'll say you guys have some knowledge. Lin Feng continued to slowly say. In his sect, the story of your Thousand Ghost sect has always been circulating around. Sikong Nan was surprised. He is also from a dark sect. No, Lin Feng shook his head, his face revealing a warm smile like the spring sunlight. My friend's name is Lu Yang, he is a disciple of the Mdishu Sword sect. In his sect, the story of a mighty senior taking down your Thousand Ghost sect by himself has always circulated around. Sikong Nan instantly became silent. The next instant, the space of the entire netherworld bead trembled, resounding with Sikong's howl of utter fury. I'll kill you. Lin Feng secretly laughed. The angrier Sikong Nan is, the more unstable his mana control will be and the more openings he will reveal. Even the netherworld bead will reject him more. Sikong Nan was instantly taught a lesson, being miserably suppressed by the 24 Heaven Arhat formation. At this time he also knew that he had fallen for Lin Feng's evil trick. He rushed to calm down his mind and just barely succeeded, continuing to confront Lin Feng. The spiritual energy in the netherworld bead is very thick, like lead and mercury. It is very difficult for Lin Feng to move this spiritual energy. In addition, over an extended period of time of being in contact with this spiritual energy, Lin Feng discovered that his mana actually had signs of gradually going out of control. It's not tainting his mana like the true blood river water, instead it has a trend of reverting the mana that Lin Feng painstakingly cultivated back into regular and pure spiritual energy. The training of Qi of cultivators is channeling the spiritual energy of the world into their bodies and converting it into their own mana. And within this netherworld bead there is actually a faint type of strange power that can reverse the conversion between spiritual energy and mana. It is precisely by borrowing this power that Sikong Nan is able to withstand the Buddhist light refinement of Lin Feng's 24 Heaven Arhat formation. After thinking deeply, Lin Feng discovered that the netherworld bead, this treasure, could very likely be related to the legendary true netherworld water, or even be created using true netherworld water. True netherworld water is also ranked as one of the 6 great true waters of the world, like the true blood river water. It originates from the netherworld, an existence even closer to the infernal hell than the nether blood river. The netherworld is also known as the river of forgetfulness. True netherworld water is also known as the water of oblivion. Its power can purify everything within the world and revert it back to its primordial state. As long as the human soul is stained with even one drop of true netherworld water, it will lose all memories. When mana is contaminated by true netherworld water, it will also be reverted back to the purest spiritual energy of the world. Luckily, this netherworld bead also seems to have been greatly damaged. There isn't any real true netherworld water in the bead, or else right now all of Lin Feng's mana would have already been reverted clean. But the netherworld bead is after all created using true netherworld water and carries a certain degree of the true netherworld water's mystical effect, helping Sikong Nan withstand Lin Feng's refinement. Lin Feng calculated in his heart. Fire and water do not agree. If I want to subdue the true netherworld water, it can only be the 7 great true flames that are on the same level as it. I don't have any of the 7 great true flames in my hands, but there also isn't any real true netherworld water here. The fury flames of Akela is one of the spiritual flames second only to the 7 great true flames. If I can cultivate the fury flames of Akela, then I can definitely subdue this netherworld bead's mana. Unfortunately, just like his Kitagarbha gilded body, currently Lin Feng has still yet to cultivate the skill of the fury flames of Akela. It's not that he doesn't have enough talent, but that currently Lin Feng, who is only at peak Qi disciple, the level of his Dao technique is too low and it is not sufficient to cultivate the fury flames of Akela. Lin Feng's gaze landed on the bodies of the 24 golden arhats and he thought. Maybe I can borrow their strength. The 24 Sarairas making up the formation are all the spiritual remains of the Great Thunder Monastery's eminent monks. The cultivation level of these mighty Buddhist cultivators is far more than simply foundation establishment stage. It is because Huiku's cultivation level was only foundation establishment stage, which is why he could only create 24 Arhat light figures with foundation establishment strength. Now that they've landed in Lin Feng's hands, following the increase of Lin Feng's Dao technique level, foundation establishment stage is still okay, but if one day he is able to form an Aurus core and attain Aurus core stage cultivation level, he can remake these Sarairas and obtain 24 Arhat light figures that possess Aurus core stage strength. That is a power that transcends the heavens. Lin Feng converted his mana to the Buddhist fire class mana of the art of Akela. He then used a fire class mana of the art of Akela to try and communicate with the 24 golden arhats. 3 golden arhats reacted, resonating with the mana of Lin Feng's art of Akela. Lin Feng's heart relaxed, he knows that his guess is not wrong. The Sariras manifesting these three golden arhats, in life as eminent monks, the Tao technique that they practiced should also have been the art of Akala. Lin Feng instantly laughed. This will make things easy, I was just afraid that out of the 24 of you there wouldn't be a single one who practiced the art of Akala. Now there are actually 3, hee, old bastard, you're dead. Lin Feng constantly channeled the mana of the art of Akala into those 3 arhat light figures. His mana stimulated the mana hidden with the Sariras. Blazing flames instantly appeared over the 3 arhat light figures and they started burning up. The other arhats split into 3 groups of 7, respectively guarding those 3 blazing arhats and continuously supplying their mana to the 3 blazing arhats. The 3 blazing arhats brought their palms together and chanted a Buddhist prayer. The fire on their bodies shot into the sky, connecting together as one and turning into a blazing sea of fire. Warning signs emerged in Sikong Nan's heart. He stared in terror at the sea of fire above his head. Little bastard, what do you want to do? Chapter 68. Within the Netherworld bead you are listening at novelfull.audio. Under Lin Feng's control, the 24 golden arhats stood divided in 3 directions, surrounding Sikong Nan in the center. The 3 blazing arhats rose up into the air. Beneath the bodies of each blazing arhat were 7 arhats holding them up, powerful Buddhist light was constantly supplied to the blazing arhats. The fire on the bodies of the blazing arhats became increasingly stronger, shooting into the sky and connecting together as one above Sikong Nan's head, turning into a blazing sea of fire. Lin Feng's face showed an expression of anger, he shouted with a staggering gaze. Buddha is merciful, but sometimes he also shows wrath, releasing eternal flames of fury, eradicating all evil, burning everything and all. Rumble. The entire space of the netherworld bead jolted, afterwards a golden Buddha with 4 faces, 8 arms and an expression of anger slowly ascended from the sea of fire. Between the Buddha's brows is a closed, vertical eye. The golden Buddha chanted a deafening Buddhist prayer. In the Buddha's voice, the vertical eye between his brows opened, shooting out a small, ivory-white ember from the vertical eye. The ivory-white ember looks incredibly feeble, as if a gust of wind could extinguish it. Yet, upon seeing it, Sikong Nan was incredibly terrified. A wisdom king. You actually cultivated the fury flames of Akala. In the air, wherever the ivory-white flame burned to, the space there would start to collapse and disintegrate. Lin Feng extended a finger and pointed. The ivory-white ember instantly turned into a straight line, shooting towards Sikong Nan. Where the fire line passed by, the mana within the netherworld bead that purifies all was instantly destroyed. It was simply unable to block the advancement of the fire line. The fire line shot to Sikong Nan's protective black mist, and it was as if a spark splashing into a pan of oil. Rumble, the black mist completely vanished and it all started to burn up, turning into blazing flames. At this moment it all turned into fuel for the fire, helping the fire burn stronger. The fury flames of Akala, within the flames are thoughts of incredible anger, thoughts of anger where even Buddha becomes angered and burns all. Even other flames, as long as they are not the 7 great true flames, they will all be burned away by the fury flames of Akala. Sikong Nan finally felt the threat of death, he was panic-stricken in his heart. I truly am a tiger descended to the plains and being bullied by dogs. I have actually fallen to the state of being stepped on by this kind of kid. If it was in the past, I'd pinch him to death with a finger. At this critical moment I can't worry about that much anymore. Even if I die I'm going to pull you down with me. Sikong Nan roared saying. Little bastard, let's die together. Following his roar, a low rumble traveled out from the depths of the space within the netherworld bead. Lin Feng slightly wrinkled his brows and listened carefully. It seems to be the gurgling sound of flowing water. This is. Lin Feng's expression changed drastically. He thought of something in his heart, but it was already too late for him to react. The sound of flowing water traveled from far to near and became increasingly louder. In the end it turned into a loud rumbling as if a dam bursting. A river with transparent, yellow water flowed down, rushing towards Lin Feng and Sikong Nan. Lin Feng secretly cursed. Fuck. Turns out it's not that there isn't any true netherworld water in the netherworld bead, on the contrary there is a tremendous amount of true netherworld water stored here. It's just that Sikong Nan has always been unable to refine and control the netherworld bead, so this true netherworld water is also a great scourge for him and he didn't dare to lightly touch it. But right now he has already been forced into a corner by Lin Feng. He's naturally let go of all concerns and figured that he might as well summon the true netherworld water to perish together with Lin Feng. Lin Feng's expression was dark. The fury flames of Akla that he controls is still just a small ember. Against so much true netherworld water, it can't even make a splash and will be directly swallowed. Sikong Nan laughed hysterically, getting swallowed first by the true netherworld water that rushed over. Lin Feng could very clearly see that the instant the fire surrounding him came in contact with the true netherworld water, it was all extinguished. Seeing this scene, the corner of Lin Feng's eye jumped. His gaze wandered around looking at his surroundings and he was urgently thinking of a plan in his heart. Suddenly, the scenery before Lin Feng's eyes lit up and he saw a massive, transparent sphere of light floating above the surging true netherworld water. Inside of the sphere of light is sitting a skinny teen. It was surprisingly Wang Lin. That is Wang Lin's soul. Lin Feng instantly realized. He didn't dare to hesitate and jumped onto the light sphere. He was like standing on a small raft, advancing following the rushing netherworld river. Only at this moment did Lin Feng have time to observe Wang Lin who was in the light sphere. He saw that his eyes were tightly shut and he was unconscious. He did not have any reaction towards Lin Feng's arrival. Lin Feng's eyes moved and he sat down above the light sphere. He was located right above Wang Lin's head and the two people were as if on the top and bottom bunk. The light sphere drifted along with the flowing water. After drifting for who knows how far, a black stone pillar suddenly appeared in the center of the river. The light sphere bumped into the black stone pillar but was not bounced away and instead was tightly stuck to the stone pillar. Lin Feng stared at the black stone pillar and observed it for a moment. He extended his hand stroking the stone pillar. Right away a long Dao technique incantation poured into his head. This is the Netherworld Nirvana Manual. This is the Dao technique to refine the Netherworld bead this treasure. It came to Lin Feng. I see, so that's how it is. After Wang Lin wakes up, he will obtain the Netherworld Nirvana Manual here and start to comprehend the Dao technique and skills contained in the Netherworld bead, thereby completely refining this treasure. With the Netherworld bead in hand, Sikong Nan that old geezer wouldn't be able to do anything with him. Having a treasure and a Dao technique, it would be about time for Wang Lin this lurking dragon to rise up into the sky. Stepping upon his golden path of invincibility. This is probably the path of the chosen one that Wang Lin should be walking. Lin Feng laughed. Since he's encountered this kind of lucky thing, he naturally won't be polite. Lin Feng doesn't plan on taking away the fortuitous opportunity that should belong to Wang Lin, but he cannot allow Wang Lin to grasp the Netherworld Nirvana Manual on his own and then independently refine the Netherworld bead, BVEC having him, this master, teach him the Dao technique and then guiding him to refine the treasure. This is the correct tempo. Thinking here, Lin Feng smiled faintly. He calmed his heart and started to seriously meditate on the profundities of the Netherworld bead Dao technique that came from the black stone pillar. Inside of the Netherworld bead is a spiritual space where no physical bodies exist. The area of the space is infinitely wide. At a place very far away from the black stone pillar, a human figure suddenly floated up from the Netherworld river. It was surprisingly Sikong Nan. But the Sikong Nan of now is greatly different from before. He is no longer circled by black mist and looking ghostly. Instead, his entire body has turned into the same dusky yellow color of the true Netherworld water and his body is also semi Transparent. Right now the old geezer's mana aura has also become the same as the true netherworld water, hiding an aura of annihilation and purification within the calmness. I may not have died, but I am worse off than dead. I was actually refined by the netherworld bead, this treasure. This life I cannot leave this netherworld bead. Sikong Nan's face was twisted and filled with hatred. But I have also profited from misfortune, allowing me to not only no longer need to fear this true netherworld water, but to also be able to manipulate it. Sikong Nan silently sensed his surroundings. The true netherworld water lifted up his body and then rushed in the direction of the black stone pillar. You two kids, this time you guys are dead. Xiao Yan and the other two were walking on the road. They were in a rush and returning back to Mount Heng together. Xiao Budian suddenly blinked his eyes and said in a low voice. Apprentice. Brothers, someone is tailing behind us. Xiao Yan is carrying the black greatsword that suppresses his mana, making it difficult for him to even do the most basic traveling. He doesn't have the spare energy to sense his surroundings. Hearing Xiao Budian's words, he controlled the impulse to turn his head to look behind and silently threw a sidelong glance at Zhu Yi. Zhu Yi also didn't act rashly and instead silently spread out his mana to investigate. After a moment, Zhu Yi nodded his head virtually unnoticeably. There are indeed some people. Their cultivation level is only Qi disciple stage, it's not that monk from back then. Xiao Budian big, black eyes turned. When we left Chuzhou City, a group of people walked head-on past us. Amongst them was an old man. For some reason he was staring at me the whole time. Could they be together with him? After being silent for a moment, Xiao Yan said flatly. Find a place in front and deal with them. Chapter 69. Master isn't home. Secret teachings of the school. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After knowing that they were being followed, Xiao Yan was silent for a moment and then said flatly. Find a place in front and deal with them. Right now he is carrying the black greatsword and his movement speed is as slow as a crawling turtle. If they allow the stalkers to reveal their location, their main group can catch up to them very quickly. Xiao Budian and Zhu Yi looked at each other and both slightly nodded their heads. They are also decisive people. They will not tolerate ill-intentioned people to just follow behind them like that. After reaching a tacit understanding, the three apprentice. Brothers stopped communicating and didn't purposely increase their speed. But they gradually strayed from their original path and turned into a forest beside the road without changing their composure. At this time, the two Yu clan cultivators following behind them revealed their figures and hurriedly chased into the forest. Xiao Yan is carrying the black greatsword, making his body extremely heavy. Walking on the ground, he really does leave a footprint with every step, so these two Yu clan cultivators aren't afraid of losing them either. The tall cultivator amongst the two grumbled while walking. Why does young Master Tian have to have us follow these three little brats? It's a complete waste of time. The short cultivator shushed him and said in a low voice. Whatever young Master Tian says, whatever we do. Don't talk so much crap. He was in the middle of speaking when the footprints in front suddenly vanished. The reactions of these two cultivations was also quick. They immediately knew that something was wrong. They've very likely already been exposed. Not waiting for them to react any further, a ringing sound suddenly traveled over from the thick foliage above them. The two people subconsciously raised their heads. The sound of wind traveled into their ears and a massive greatsword had already filled their vision. Xiao Yan held on to the black greatsword and descended from the sky. His two hands holding onto the sword handle and chopping down with amazing power. But the black metal greatsword is honestly too heavy. Xiao Yan is unable to nimbly wield it either. With this chop, the strength is truly amazing, but the faces of the two Yu clan cultivators both showed a smile of disdain. The two people lightly jumped backwards together and had already escaped from the attack range of the black metal greatsword. The greatsword is too heavy. Xiao Yan is unable to change directions and can only watch the two people evade the sword blade. But Xiao Yan does not care and even has the leisure to smile at those two Yu clan cultivators. The two people were rather baffled by his smile. But the next instant, their scalps suddenly went numb and their hairs stood on end, as if there was some disaster that was about to descend upon them. Xiao Budian carried the white bone mace that was like a hammer and silently appeared behind the short cultivator. He used a polished technique that could not be more polished and hammered the back of the short cultivator's head. The short cultivator let out a cry and felt like there were golden stars spinning in front of his eyes. He turned his body with great effort, forcing himself to focus his mind and not faint. But just turning around, he still hadn't seen anything yet and a white shadow flashed in front of him. Another hit hammered down hitting him square in the forehead. The short cultivator's eyes rolled back and he no longer had the strength to struggle. He fell straight back and directly fainted. This two-hit combo of Xiao Budian's had truly grasped the essence of quick, accurate and ruthless. He has already trained it to the point of perfection. Even if Lin Feng was here he would have to sigh with emotion, this kid truly has talent in the promising career of knocking people out from behind. At the side, Zhu Yi and the tall cultivator who were still fighting also slowed down, their eyes simultaneously looked over at Xiao Budian's side. That it was honestly that Xiao Budian this mo to the extreme, cute little Shota, knocking people out from behind so savagely and skillfully honestly looks so wrong. But this kid still didn't have any realization and was instead very complacent. He smiled towards Zhu Yi and said, "Second apprentice, brother, this is our school's secret technique, specially used to capture the enemy alive. When master taught it, you still hadn't entered into the school so you didn't have the chance to learn it. Wait a bit, in a little while I'll demonstrate it to you again. Once you learn it you won't need to have so much trouble next time." Zhu Yi's composure that he built up from a decade of studying finally broke. The corner of his lips twitched as he shook his head. I'll pass on it. Looking at this little guy in front who currently has the highest cultivation level amongst them three apprentice brothers, but is willingly taking the position of the youngest apprentice brother, Zhu Yi actually felt slight chills on his back. That tall cultivator in particular was staring in shock at Xiao Budian. Is this still a kid that isn't even 5 years old yet? If he is, why does he have such a high cultivation level? Most importantly, why is he so shameless? What secret technique that is specially used to capture the enemy alive? Please, that is a sneak attack. The short cultivator has already fainted. If he wakes up and finds out the truth, he'll definitely also be like the tall cultivator right now, hundreds of millions of ancient tyrannosauruses running past in his heart. Xiao Yan held on to the black greatsword in distress and said to Zhu Yi, "Second apprentice, brother, don't listen to his crap. Master was joking with him and this kid treated it as real. Or I should say, he knows that master is joking but this move is just this kid's cup of tea, so right now he is parading around under master's name." At the side Xiao Budian was smiling very happily while Zhu Yi was shaking his head and smiling helplessly. "For the moment, I can't use this thing when fighting." Xiao Yan sighed releasing his hand, throwing down the black greatsword and kicking up the dirt on the ground. The next instant, Xiao Yan's figure flickered and he had already disappeared on the spot. "Attack together, let's end this fast." The tall cultivator blanked and then saw Xiao Yan suddenly appear in front of him. His cultivation level that was suppressed by the black greatsword before all exploded out, his fist punching towards the tall cultivator's face. Dodging Xiao Yan's fist in a fluster, the tall cultivator felt a chill on his neck. A sword had already been placed at his neck. The sword was held in Zhu Yi's hand. The green-clothed scholar had one hand behind his back in an indifferent manner. "It's best if you don't move. We already have a live one, whether we leave you alive or not depends on your own performance." Speaking of live ones, Zhu Yu's eyebrows twitched again while looking at the short cultivator who was still unconscious on the ground, and he glared snappily at Xiao Budian. Xiao Budian walked over with a grin and asked with a smile. "All right, speak, why are you following us?" The tall cultivator wanted to open his mouth and talk bullshit, but upon coming in contact with those glittering eyes of Xiao Budian's and then seeing Xiao Budian play with the white bone mace in his hand, he instantly felt a chill on the back of his head and he could only force himself to say, "I am a cultivator of the Yu clan. If you guys are smart, it's best if you guys let us go, or else you guys will suffer big time." The smile on Xiao Budian's face gradually faded. He didn't speak either, he just silently stared at that tall cultivator. This person never thought that he would be scared by the stare of a 4 or 5-year-old child. Xiao Yan and Zhu Yi exchanged gazes. Zhu Yi said softly, "The maternal family of that Shitiani." Xiao Yan nodded his head with a dark expression. Zhu Yi turned back and stared at that tall cultivator. "Agent of evil, just eradicate him." The tall cultivator's heart froze, and then staring at Xiao Budian's expressionless little face, all of his courage instantly dissipated. But he is also just following orders, he doesn't know why he is following Xiao Budian. But Xiao Budian and company understood very quickly. After knocking out that tall cultivator, Xiao Yan said in a heavy voice, "Could they have recognized youngest apprentice, brother?" Zhu Yi nodded his head. "The probability is very likely. Maybe they are still unable to confirm it, which is why they only sent 2 people to tail us, but it is certain that they are already suspicious." Xiao Budian lowered his head. "I dragged you guys down." Xiao Yan waved his hand and said unconcerned, "What are you saying? We are apprentice. Brothers, there's no drag down schmag down." He looked at the black metal greatsword on the ground and scratched his head slightly distressed. "If you want to talk about dragging down, it's me dragging you guys down instead. What way is there to move with this thing and also increase our speed without leaving any traces?" Xiao Yan pulled a long face. "Everything that we have has been sunk into this thing. Throwing it away is too much of a shame." Hearing this, Zhu Yi and Xiao Budian also had distraught faces. Chapter 70. Master isn't home. No place to run. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the stream of water in the mountain, a bamboo raft floated down the water. On the raft sat a green-clothed scholar and a child only 4 or 5 years old. Sitting on the raft, besides controlling the direction of advance of the raft, the 2 people not only didn't paddle to accelerate, they instead controlled the raft to not drift too quickly with the stream. A couple of bubbles suddenly appeared in the water beside the raft. Afterwards a completely soaked black-clothed youth rushed out of the water, nimbly landing on the raft and greedily breathing in the fresh air. "If only we had Master's black cloud flag, we wouldn't need to waste so much effort." The black-clothed youth is naturally Xiao Yan. The mana in his body circulated and hot air steamed from his body, instantly drying his clothes. Zhu Yi said, "Saying that stuff now is all useless. This method may still be very slow, but at least we won't reveal our position." Xiao Budian jumped up from the raft and smiled, saying, "My turn." He plunged into the water and dived to the bottom. Xiao Yan's black metal greatsword was sunk in the sand under the water, dragging out a straight vertical line underwater from where it came. Xiao Budian grabbed the black metal greatsword. The heaviness is secondary, the crucial part is that his mana has become stagnant. He thought, "This thing of eldest apprentice. Brothers is truly strange. Even though it is a burden, it is indeed a shame to throw it away. We'll just take it back and let Master see it." Afterwards Xiao Budian drooped the tip of the black metal greatsword on the floor, dragging it on the sand and lifting his head, looking at the raft above to determine his direction. On the bamboo raft, Xiao Yan laughed helplessly. "Could I be considered wanting money over my life?" Zhu Yi smiled faintly. "A saying that Master frequently says is, there are always more solutions than problems. It may be shallow, but it holds a strong element of truth." The 3 people spaced out in the mountain for half a day and finally thought of this solution that isn't a solution, using the water route to hide their tracks. But the black metal greatsword is too heavy and the small bamboo raft is simply unable to transport it. So they can only take turns dragging it in the water. A couple of kilometers behind the three people, a group of people were perusing them down the stream. The leader is a young man. It is precisely the member of the main branch of the Yu clan, Yu Tian. His appearance is relatively handsome but his expression right now is incredibly dark. This kind of stream in the mountains has countless branches. Chasing like this, it's very easy for us to go the wrong way. He turned around and walked to the very back of the group. There is a black-clothed elder with a plain face, resting with his eyes closed and sitting on a chair, being carried by a couple of Yu clan servants using rods. Yu Tian greeted him respectfully. Elder Yu, please use your skill once. This is very important to the clan. The black-clothed elder named Elder Yu didn't even move his eyelids and said coolly. I am only responsible for protecting your safety, anything else is not my problem. Yu Tian slightly knit his forehead, but he did not dare to persuade him again. He could only back off to the side and think. Why did the clan send this old monster over, what bad luck? He doesn't dare to actually say this and instead glanced at Elder Yu with an expression of fear. Afterwards he hurriedly lowered his head and turned around leaving. The black-clothed elder's body didn't reveal any hint of man, but just sitting there resting with his eyes closed, he was like an immovable mountain. Yu, mountain. The raft turned around a river bend and their vision opened up. Zhu Yi stood at the front of the raft looking into the distance. Next we have to return back on land or else we will stray further and further. Xiao Yan nodded his head and used his mana to transmit his voice to Xiao Budian. Afterwards he jumped onto shore with Zhu Yi. Xiao Budian also dragged the black metal greatsword and walked out from the water. He gave the black metal greatsword back to Xiao Yan while he himself recovered his mana while walking. Zhu Yi asked. Right now there are pursuers behind us. Do we still go back to Mount Hang to wait or should we go directly to Master? Xiao Yan pondered. Before he could answer, an old voice suddenly rose up. Young Master Yi has actually already taken someone else as his master. This really isn't good. The Marquis once said that before young Master Yi completes his studies, you cannot practice martial arts and cultivation. The expressions of Zhu Yi and his apprentice brothers all changed. Zhu Yi's eyebrows shook and he said calmly. Mr. Tao Air. The person who came is a skinny and shriveled old man. It is precisely the second steward of the house of the Marquis of Xuanji, Mr. Tao Air. Following the appearance of Mr. Tao Air, more and more cultivators of the house of the Marquis walked out from the mountain. Tao Air closely sized up Zhu Yi, revealing an expression praise. In not half a year's time you reach Qi disciple level 6. Young Master Yi is very gifted, the Marquis blood truly flows in you. But you disobeyed the Marquis instructions, this is very bad. Zhu Yi took a deep breath and said with a heavy voice. The profundity of Father's cultivation level is his own skill. My cultivation level today originates from my own hard work and my master's teachings. Tao Air shook his head. Young Master Yi, you do not understand. The Marquis is just and harbors the future in his mind. His arrangements are absolutely correct, all you need to do is walk according to the path the Marquis has arranged for you. Hearing this, not only Zhu Yi, Xiao Yan and Xiao Budian also wrinkled their foreheads. But Tao Air did not care and continued to say slowly. The reason I came out this time is, 1, to investigate the matter of Huang San's disappearance, and 2, to find young Master Yi. Zhu Yi said calmly. Huang San and the other died by the hand of the Mshu Sword Sect's Oris Core stage cultivator, Lu Yang. I witnessed it myself. The Mshu Sword Sect. Tao Air nodded his head and continued asking. Then how did young Master Yi escape from danger, and what about those rebels of the Society of the Strong Gale? Zhu Yi answered saying. The people of the Society of the Strong Gale escaped through a transportation formation. My master saved me and afterwards I have been following master and learning cultivation. Tao Er nodded his head. If that's so, then we can only leave things like that for now. Young Master Yi, come home with me right now. You have been away from home for many days and the Marquis and the lady all miss you very much, Lo Zhu Yi said calmly. I want to follow master to learn cultivation. When I have achieved success in the future I will naturally return. Tao Er laughed. Young Master Yi, you jest. You may not be the legitimate son of the Marquis and cannot learn the Marquis cultivation path and skills, but the Marquis naturally will also arrange a suitable master for you. There is no need for you to find your own master. So, come back with me to Tianjing right now, young Master Yi. Tao Er said as a matter of factly. If you are worried that master of yours will not let go of you, I will go speak to him for you. If he really is an enlightened master, he will naturally understand reason. How could he bear for his disciple and parents to be separated? Xiao Yan's and Xiao Budian's expressions both slightly changed, their bodies were just about to move but they were stopped by Zhu Yi. Zhu Yi lifted his eyes looking at Tao Er, he said calmly. Master has saved my life and taught me. One day my master, always my master. I appreciate your kindness but I cannot accept it. Please return and report to father that one day, I will definitely return to Tianjing, but it is not now. Tao Er stared straight at Zhu Yi and sighed saying. Young Master Yi has always been the most filial, yet now you have been guided onto the path of evil by someone. It is clear that master of yours must be a treacherous man. Young Master Yi, please tell me where he is right now. I will go exterminate this demon right now. Such a demon should have his cultivation level destroyed, be immersed in feces and paraded through the streets to warn the world. Not only did Xiao Yan and Xiao Budian show expressions of anger, even Zhu Yi's face also darkened. But they heard Tao Er continue to say. In addition, before coming out, the Marquis instructed me that if I find young Master Yi, I must be sure to bring back young Master Yi safely. The Marquis order must be completed. While speaking, the cultivators of the house of the Marquis of Xuanji behind him had already spread out, surrounding Zhu Yi and his apprentice brothers in the center. For a moment, the three people's hearts all sank to the bottom. In the netherworld bead at the heart of the river, Wang Lin had still yet to awaken within the sphere of light. Lin Feng sat quietly above the light sphere, his mind was still seriously studying the netherworld nirvana manual from the black stone pillar. The true netherworld water in the distance suddenly started to crash and gurgle. Surging true netherworld water supported a human figure who was rapidly approaching. The human figure is precisely Sikong Nan. He saw Lin Feng and instantly laughed out loud. Kid, the humiliation that you gave to me before, right now I will return it to you 100-fold.